All of a sudden, I heard this tag, you're it. And I felt this whoosh right beside me. What if God really likes to play? I never thought about that question until more recently. I think not a lot of people talk about it. I grew up taking my faith very seriously, and I still do. But I've started to know a different side of the Lord, the side of the Lord that really lets us feel freedom and embraces childlikeness. Recently, I posted on Substack that God is fun, and I asked people what fun things they were doing this weekend, just something light. And somebody commented that it felt like I was reducing God to something simple or trite. And I don't think those were the words that they use. And that doesn't matter because they were just processing what I woke up in them. And so I thought, I don't think revering God and Him being fun are mutually exclusive. It can be where I'm making God into my own image. What does it mean to revere Him? And I was asking the Lord, Lord, who are you? And God is really kind. And how I've noticed He communicates to me is through patterns. And after this conversation, a couple days later, I was sitting at coffee with a friend, and she was talking about how the Lord was speaking to her about fun and play in her life. And I just was thinking, wow, this is a familiar theme that is something I want to lean into. And she shared with me a picture of a verse. It's from Proverbs 8. It's from 8:22 through 31. And it just changed my view on how God likes to play and how fun He is. So let me read this to you. I'm going to start in verse 27. It said, when He established the heavens, and He's talking about wisdom here. When He established the heavens, I was there. When He drew a circle on the face of the deep, when He made firm the skies above, when He established the fountains of the deep, when He assigned to the sea its limits, so that the waters might not transgress His command, when He marked out the foundations of the earth, when I was beside Him like a master workman, and I was His daily delight, rejoicing before Him always, rejoicing in His inhabited world, and delighting in the children of men. That word in Hebrew, and I'm going to say this wrong, so forgive me. Maybe I'll say it right. Shechek, shekek. When it says rejoicing always before Him. And this word means to laugh, to play, like a sport, to make merry. God is rejoicing or playing in His inhabited land. It moves from God playing and delighting in His creation to wisdom, and now extends to creation and into people. That there's this established play and design in how God has created and is moving in His created world. And I just thought, whoa, this is a new side of God that I don't often engage with because I'm afraid I'm going to reduce God, or I'm not going to worship Him or revere Him. And it also reminded me of Jesus's metaphor for spiritual growth, which is to be like children. When children feel very safe and they feel secure, the creativity and the play and the self-abandon that they have to trust, one, that their parents are taking care of them, they can depend on them, or their caregivers. They can play and create and laugh and have fun and squeal with joy and just let themselves go because they're not self-conscious. They're not worried about, am I fitting in? Do I belong? What's going on? Am I taking this seriously? Am I doing enough? They just are who they are. And they're in right relationship with the world as they're just playing. And I used to equate spiritual maturity with being really serious and dedicated and disciplined. And those things are not wrong and aren't part of what it means to follow Christ. Of course, there are things that we take very seriously, and life is hard, and there's suffering, and there's invitations to die to ourselves, and life is hard. There's also the side of who God is that is playful and enjoys and rejoices. And I don't believe they're mutually exclusive. Just like in the book of Ecclesiastes that we're reading right now in the community on Substack, is that there's a time for everything. There's a time for laughter and there's a time for mourning. It's not which one is better. My old mentor said this. It's not which one is better if you're like more contemplative or you're more action oriented. It's discerning which one is needed for this time. What's happening in reality? If it's a time of mourning, we mourn. If there's joy, we add to their joy. We celebrate with others. It just made me think about who God is in terms of how He is playful. I was kind of moving in my relationship with the Lord. I was transitioning out of really relating to God through pain. I went through an intense healing journey in the early part of my 20s and late 20s. And in spiritual direction, I was reflecting on how I just felt like things had kind of normalized with the Lord. Like, I don't feel a lot of pain. We're not working on anything, deep in the soul. One of the things that he said was, I wonder if you're learning to relate to God in a different way than you related to him in pain. What would it be like to relate to God in joy or in peace or in boredom? And that was a new reframe for me. And he suggested this: instead of asking, oh Lord, what do we want to work on? What's going on in the soul? How can I be of service? And those questions can still be there and are valid. But asking, Lord, is there anything you want to show me in creation that makes you happy? Is there any clouds you want to show me that you've been working on? And he said, maybe God wants to, show you what he's been doing in creation. Maybe he wants to show you some butterflies he's been designing, or some people that he's been pouring into, or jokes are really fun and funny and you can go laugh at them or whatever it is. And it just reframed needing to be serious all the time. Lord, what is the invitation? The invitation to get to know this side of you, to be who you are. A last story that I'll share is, it's more of a serious note, is I was on a 48-hour retreat once and I was thinking I would pick the topic sex. I was going to read books on it and deal with any of my sin or ask the Lord to heal my sexuality or whatever. I was very intense. Spiritual life. As I was reading this heavy book and was trying to conjure up actually this deep work that really wasn't what God was inviting me into, as I was conjuring this up, I was reading this book, it was heavy, I was kind of in a funk, and all of a sudden I heard this: tag, you're it. And I felt this whoosh right beside me. I was like, what? And I heard again, tag, you're it. And I knew instinctively it was, put down the book and come play with me. So I was like, this is weird. I'm like a 30-something-year-old woman. No one was in the house. It's a retreat house. I put down the book and I started running in the hallway, pretending or whatever, playing with God. We were playing tag. And then after about a minute or so, I just kind of just stopped in the kitchen and I started laughing. I just was like, you're so fun. I'm even just getting chills thinking about it now. And I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is so weird. And I sat down, I think I had dinner or whatever. And then a little later I was reflecting, I was journaling, like, this is what happened. I'm at a retreat, I'm crazy. And I heard the Lord say, I made sex to be fun. There's nothing wrong with pleasure. And it was so healing. It was so light. This heavy topic of sex that I think I'd really accumulated from the purity culture and the true love's way and all this stuff and it's not to minimize. No, I created play and life. And he just showed me a different side of him to reframe and to have a conversation in a very safe, fun way. God invites us to experience all of who he is. And he is a God who plays in various different ways. That doesn't mean we don't take things seriously or we don't make hard decisions or he's not someone to revere. Of course, he's not even someone. He's other. He's completely other. And I want to do his will. And I also want to make space for who he really is and allow him to show me at his who he is. And so I'm curious for you, how have you seen God as playful? Or is that something that's challenging to think or experience of? And maybe that's because we're not allowed to play as a child. Or maybe you have experienced God as delighting in you and embracing all of our humanity or whatever. So I'm curious, comment down below if that's something that you've experienced and tell your story. You can be encouraging to other people. I'm even thinking about that, like when God created the world, he created the sun and the moon and humans and animals, how much fun he must have had and how we can share in that fun with him and follow him wherever he goes. In whatever capacity that means. I pray this video is a blessing to you and I'll see you in the next video.